You're listening to Self-Care AF, the podcast, where we call out how self-care has been weaponized against women and reclaim it in our own terms. I'm Desiree Rue, licensed clinical social worker, digital nomad, and I'm Self-Care AF. Let's get into it. Welcome back. I'm Desiree Rue, and I'm so glad to have you back. And I'm glad to be back, okay? I'm here for a new season, and if you are new here, I'm really, really glad to meet you. Thank you for joining me and this community. Bem-vindos, which is welcome in Portuguese. And so welcome to this podcast. Welcome to this community. And listen, if you've been here for seasons 1 or seasons 2 or both, thank you for waiting. I love you. I love you so much for waiting. Obrigada, which is thank you in Portuguese. Okay, like if you're really impressed, thank you. But those are literally probably the only 2 words I know. Okay, I know a few more, but I feel like I really have those laid down. So thank you for being here. I had to go and live a little bit. I went into the whole wide world to go live for a year and then decided to settle here in Portugal. So, I was out in the world having a really great time. I traveled to Kenya. I traveled to South Africa, to Italy, and then here to Portugal on a digital nomad year. I decided to go and literally work from everywhere. And during that time away, I thought, I'm going to find a studio in every city, and then I'm going to record the podcast. Yeah, I had big dreams. I had big dreams, and I really thought I needed to have, a studio to go into to record and the whole 9 yards, because that's what I'd been doing previously. And I realized, right, hindsight is that I really didn't. I didn't need a studio, but don't get me wrong, like, the studio environment was fantastic. It was wonderful to go into a space that was already designed for this work with a person who, was already versed in all the things studio and all the things podcast production. But I realize now in hindsight that I didn't really need those things. They were wonderful to have. And I had a wonderful home studio in Long Beach that I worked in. And I was introduced to a beautiful studio and some wonderful people in Kenya recording the last episode that you saw recorded. But I realized that I didn't. And I think we do that to ourselves a lot. We put off starting something or continuing something because we can't do it big, or we can't do it the way we've seen others who've been doing it longer, or we can't do it in the same veracity that we did it previously. And so we just don't move forward with it, or we stop. And the reality really is that all we ever really needed was us, and all we ever really needed to do was start or continue. And so here we are, you and me, and I'm here, a team of one, producing my own show in my living room in Portugal with you. So this is proof. If you need proof this week that you can do something without all of the big hooplas and without all of the things in place, but simple equipment, your desire to do it, your know-how, and your transferable skills to learn, this is proof that it can be done. This is proof that all you have to do is just show up and get it started. And listen, we'll be growing this podcast together. One day we're going to meet and we're going to meet up and we're going to be laughing, and you're going to say to me, "Oh, Desiree, I remember that that season and that time when you were doing the podcast from your living room." And it's probably going to be, maybe we'll be celebrating, the 100th episode, or I'll be celebrating 5 million subscribers. And you'll be like, "Yeah, we were in the living room, and you were in the living room, and I was listening because I was trying to get my life together. And look at us now." And then we're going to clink glasses and we're going to toast to our now, right? I see it, right? I see it. And look, it doesn't cost anything to dream. So I'm all here for that. And I hope that you will be too. I'm here for your dreams, and I'm here for mine. So let's get into, what this comeback is all about, what the podcast is all about now, and what you can expect in this episode, this first episode back. So I want to set up, I guess, for you some expectations. And for those of you who I haven't met yet, or who are not familiar with me, I want to kind of introduce myself to you and reintroduce myself to others. So let me start with what this podcast is and what this podcast is not. So I can clearly tell you that this podcast is not a tips show. I am not going to be handing you tips. I'm not here to give you another morning routine or to tell you what I think you already know. Season 3 is a conversation. It's a conversation about what is actually happening underneath. And that's, similar and really the same conversations we were having in seasons 1 and 2, where the goal is to give you the information that happens at the root of your self-care. It relates to your reasons for why you do or you don't when it comes to your self-care. I want to have the conversation that goes deeper than the surface. You need to, you should, you shouldn't. I want to talk to you and share with you about the psychology behind how you make those decisions, or the psychology behind the barriers to your ability to make those decisions, to conditioning. And listen, if you are a woman, the ways that we have been taught that our own care is selfish, or it's indulgent, we shouldn't do it, we should earn it, or it is secondary to everything that we as women are supposed to be doing because we're natural caretakers and we have motherly instincts and we are givers and managers of our families and home. I'm going to name it. I'm going to put it in the light. I'm going to say some things, as they say on social media, that might get me canceled. I don't care. I'm telling the truth. I'm going to show you what it looks like when a woman, a person, decides that she is done living the life that someone else has designed. I'm going to show you that through stories, through sharing my own experience, and guess what? We're going to have guests this season. I'm so incredibly excited to introduce you to women that I know and love and respect and admire and have been for really long periods of time, that are literally living their best lives. And they have evolved and they have reinvented themselves based on their own strengths, their own knowledge of who they are, and just refusing anymore to live in a box that was not of their own design. Now, these are real women. They're not rich. They're not rich. I mean, if they are, they haven't told me. They probably won't tell me because they know I'm going to ask, tell them my Cash App is working. But these are real women that I want to inspire you, that I want to show you that people are living. And so if it's possible for them, if it's possible for me, it's possible for you. So I'm really excited about that, to share some of the people that are in my space. Let me tell you what I'm hoping, or what I know, what I am designing the podcast, the conversation to be the solution for. What I believe is the greatest problem that we are having when it comes to our self-care. Self-care has been turned into a product. I'm going to say it again. Self-care has been turned into a product. It's being sold. It's a candle. It's a balm, a bath bomb. It's a $40 face mask. It's your vacations. It's getaways. It's retreats. And while none of those things alone are bad, it simply sells self-care. It really perpetuates the idea that self-care is something you escape to. It's something that you buy. It's something that you have to earn, and it's not connected to you. That your self-care is not connected to your emotional and your physical self, and it only exists outside of you. When people engage in everything that has a self-care stamp on it, but it feels, or you feel still emotionally exhausted. You are still dissatisfied with your life. You have gone to Jamaica, you have drank the rum, you have eaten the eats, and the very next week, you are still asking yourself that question, what's next for me? Why am I so tired? The world comes back into view and it's still not pretty. That's when you know that there is a problem with self-care and how it's been designed for you to understand it. The first thing that we do when those things don't work, when we come back from vacation and we go, I'm back at work, back at the kids, here we go, right? The first thing that we do is we blame ourselves. Why can't we get this right? Why can't we figure this out? We figured out everything else, but why can't we figure this out? We make our life work on the outside, even though on the inside we know that we're slowly dying from not really living in the fullness, not thriving in the fullness of who we know we can be, but we haven't been her or him or us or they. Or we put it off to some future date, right? When the kids graduate, when I retire, when the outside is projected to change or get better, we say, that's when I'll have more time. That's when I'll commit to really taking time for myself. That is a lie. That is not true. That is not the whole story, and that will not be the case. It is a bold-faced lie, as my mother used to say. You telling a bold-faced lie. Okay? It's a bold-faced lie. And it's a specific kind of lie. It's a specific lie that's really designed to keep women consuming and self-blaming, and people in general from asking, the bigger questions. The bigger question is not, why can't I do this self-care thing? The bigger question is, why is this thing so hard? Why is this nut so hard to crack? Why can't I do it consistently? And especially for women. Smart, accomplished, giving women. We're not asking those questions. Why is it so hard for me to believe that I am the most important person in my life to take care of every single day? Who doesn't want you asking those questions? Who benefits from you not knowing the answer? Or who benefits from you not changing because of the answer? Who? I want you to sit with that. And I want you to think about that. Who is benefiting from me being exhausted? Who is benefiting from me always saying yes to everybody but me? Who is benefiting from me putting the work first working through hunger, working through tiredness, working through my body giving me signals that I need to stop. Who benefits from that? I don't know who's on the other side of the answer for you, but I can certainly tell you that it is not you. And so truly, who benefits from giving you half the story? Who benefits from selling you self-care as a product? Who benefits from you not knowing you? And here's the thing, the answer is really layered because the problem is really layered. It's really not one thing you are not doing or one thing you need to do. It's several things. The answer is not just fixing one thing. It's not more trips. It is not even more solo trips. Not when every day you're overextending yourself, and not when every day you're obligated or dissatisfied with some part of your life and you're tired still in a way that, a good night's sleep doesn't fix. So it's really a layered problem, and the advice that we are consistently given only really taps into one piece of it that doesn't really get you to the root of the problem, because it is focused on you choosing the product. Now, I want to kind of explain it or give you an analogy for the visual learners like me, or the people with like the over imaginative brain, because my brain is neurodiverse. I have an ADHD brain she lives in color. She loves there's movies and clips and music flowing through my brain all day long. Okay? So if you have a neurodiverse brain, lean into it. It is your gift. And sometimes it can be a curse, but it is mostly your gift. Now, I want you to imagine your self-care like a bomb. Okay? If you watch, any TV shows, Law and Orders, or any of those cop shows where they run up on this thing and there is a bomb. And the bomb has several wires going to it. Several wires. Got the blue wire, the red wire, the green wire, the yellow wire. What's another wire? Blue, red, green, yellow, white. 5 wires going through it. And in order for you to disarm the bomb, you have to figure out which wires to cut. Now, most of the self-care advice that we're given tells us to remove one wire. It's going to tell us maybe to cut the yellow wire. And by cutting the yellow wire, we have gone on vacation. Maybe we have put in some PTO. We have planned our trip for next summer. All of those things have happened. We've cut that yellow wire. But there are still 4 other wires attached, and that bomb is still set to go off because we need to remove all of the wires. And some of those wires are there because they've come from different origins, right? And so cutting them is not as simple as planning for a vacation. Some of those wires were created because they were passed down from your parents, right? They were passed down values about yourself, or values about work, or how you are to be in the world when it comes to work specifically. And they pass down the values to you that their parents passed down to them, that their parents passed down to them, that their parents passed down to them. And I was thinking about this the other day, and I might even write something on this. But I was thinking that as a Black American, a Black woman, my values, if I keep going back, was passed down to me from my mom and my dad, whose values were passed down to them from their parents in their world at the time, who was passed down to them from their parents in their world at the time. And if I keep going back just about 5 generations, My values around work has an origin in slavery, was born out of slavery. So my great, 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 great grandparents passed on their values that was given to them because they were slaves, how they were supposed to work, how they were supposed to rest, how they were supposed to, what days that they were given. They were given days. They didn't take days. They hid how they loved and how they lived, and they hid the things that anyone could see that may make them vulnerable, because it would have given some type of perception about actually how they would work. And so when I think about all those values passed down to me, where they originated from, I recognize that I come from a culture that was shaped by slavery, not from the ownership side of the table, not from the delegation side of the table, not from understanding your leadership side of the table, not from preserving your energy side of the table, not from getting things done, but are you always the one that has to do it side of the table. My values come from the work in the field, sun up to sundown, living in secret. Living in secret. Any of the things that look like freedom, freedom of mind, freedom of agency, and that will ultimately have that impact on production. And only given a Sunday to rest. Given a day to truly rest. Punished for resting. So imagine that being the origin, and that being the time, and those values passed down to pass down to pass down to pass down. So again, some of these wires can't just be clicked, right? Some of them really have to have some work to be removed. But until you remove them, your bomb is still set to detonate. Some of those wires, or one of those wires, will come from your personal and your lived experience, your lived trauma, right? The things that have happened to you and the things you have happened to. And some of them are even your wins. Yes, some of them are your wins that you have experienced, navigating systems that were never made for you to actually do well in. And look at you. I always say, if you have overcome so much systemic brick wall in your life to succeed a little bit, and you have done it, exhausted, tired, put yourself last and everything first, imagine what you could do well, whole, healthy, rested, when you know that you are the most important thing. You drove it. You did it. You overcame it. The circumstance did not overcome you. You overcame the circumstance. Imagine how much more in your life today you could do if you truly believe that. So again, if anyone is not helping you with all 5 of those wires so that your self-care can be activated every single day, then you are not being given the full story. You are not being given the entire blueprint. But I'm going to give you the full story. I'm going to give it to you. I am going to name it. I am going to call it out. I am going to give you the full fix. And you can expect that in this season, and you can expect that from me, because I want you to be informed. I don't want you to pass down a narrative that no longer suits you, that values that no longer bring you value in this moment and in this time in your life. But you adhere to them simply because you're not really sure what's possible. I often say people can only see you from their lens. And if who you are, what you do is driven from a lens of the past, not a lens of the future, not a lens from your present, but your advice, your value system was created from a past world. Now, we can argue that much of our past is trying to come back to the present to haunt us. But here's the thing, it does not matter how they try to turn a clock back in terms of laws and policies, because those laws and policies cannot work on a present and future mind. We do not own the mindset or even the lives of the people who had to endure those laws, who those laws shaped their decisions and their will and their agency. We have evolved. We have grown. Our futures, our legacies are not the same. So it really doesn't matter. I won't say it doesn't matter because that's not true. It does matter. And they are harmful. But they will not stop progress, because what the data has shown us is that progress never got stopped. It was hard, it was difficult, but we figured a way. We figured out a way to get around it. We figured out a way to grow in the concrete. And we will do it again. That's what our data says. And until we can learn how to really understand what our personal data says, then we will continue to have those wires connected to the things that do not allow us to live free. We are still a ticking time bomb until we remove those 5 wires, rewire them, and plug them in so that our self-care works for us and not against us. So, why am I in this space? Okay, well, who am I, right? Who am I? Why am I here? And again, if you don't know me, if you have not, this is your first time listening, this is your first episode, I really want to give you a fuller picture of who I am as a person and why I am here. So since it's my first episode in over a year, I'll tell you, again, I am Desiree Rue. And I say that with the head held high. There is a lot that goes into, and a lot that has gone into becoming and loving and knowing Desiree Rue. I'm David's mom. I'm Xavier's and Pepe and Aria's grandma. I am Jaleesa Brown's second mom. I'm Brittany's second mom. And I'm Kayana's godmother. Because God put me and that little girl together, okay? And we locked in. I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Yes, she's a Delta. What is a Delta? Okay, all right, okay. I carried away. But yes, I am a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. And I live about 30 miles south of Lisbon, Portugal, Lisboa, as we say here. I'm a Libra all day. All day. I'm a Libra. Okay? Are you any Libras? We're the Libras. Stand up. If you are a Libra listening to this, then I want you to just give yourself a little. Just stop right now wherever you are and just give yourself a little, the symbol of the T that the young people are doing. Just clap your fingers together. Because there is nothing like a Libra on the earth, okay? We make the party. I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. And if you're not familiar with Baltimore, Maryland, we are the home of this year's Super Bowl champions. This year's the 2027 Super Bowl. Okay, we're the champions, the Baltimore Ravens. This is the home of the Baltimore. I'm predicting. Yes, I said it. The Baltimore Ravens will win the Super Bowl. Okay, and we're the home of Old Bay. Old Bay seasoning that you like to put onto your seafood. Hey, and we're the home of Thurgood Marshall, the first African American Supreme Court justice, and okay, just a lot of things. So Baltimore is, the place, okay? I'm from Baltimore all day. Baltimore, if, I'm really honest, I'm from Baltimore, okay? I also have lived and I've lived and loved in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Long Beach, California. Long Beach, strong beach, okay? Two places I also consider to be home because they have very big chunks of my heart still there. I am a licensed clinical social worker, so I've been in the social work game for about 35 years. And I'm a licensed therapist, and I think that's important to say. And I want to say that to you, particularly in this era of information and social media, that the information that I am bringing to you comes from an informed lens, a professionally trained lens, as well as my lived experience, okay? And I have been burnt up. I have been bamboozled. I have been confused. I have had compassion fatigue. I have experienced vicarious trauma to the point of immense suffering, personally and professionally. And all the things that are related to just not living in my truth and not living in my freedom and living heavily off of trauma responses. I am the founder and I am the CEO of Thrive Learning Solutions, and I created a framework early in my business called Self-Care-ish AF. And the AF means what you think it means, okay? That framework was more than just a rubric on how to become self-care, like how to do self-care, how to understand self-care for yourself. That was my initial conversation in this space, that I designed what was then the roadmap for many people, the conversation, the thing I wish someone had told me many years ago that would have mitigated so many of the burnout experiences and the decisions that I made from unhealthy spaces in my own life. But it has now become more than a framework. It's a movement. It's a movement wrapped in a framework, because I've since developed additional framework as I've evolved as a person and a professional in this space. I've also evolved the type of information that I'm able to create and to share. And so you'll get some of that here. Of course, you're really going to get all of it. And you're going to get it all. You're going to get it all. And it's my mission in life, and I mean this wholeheartedly, is that every person, especially women, have this as their life's mantra, being self-care-ish as fuck. I want to ensure that no one makes a decision about themselves without full knowledge. My life did not change because I moved here to Portugal, because I left the US. I left the United States because I wanted to and because I could, not because I was angry or not because, I wasn't being treated fairly, or I left because I wanted to and because I could, and I can't make it any simpler than that. Because when I changed 10 years ago, the way that I saw myself, the way that I thought about myself, when I started studying the connections between my physical self and my emotional self and my systems, my nervous system particularly, and how the dots started connecting with what I learned growing up as a person, what I learned growing up in the workspaces, and how many of those concepts and ideals and values that were taught to me went against my own agency and freedom thinking and living, I changed. And I unlearned many of the values that were passed down to me that were not rooted in my present and my future success. The world no longer became my enemy. It was no longer my enemy. I didn't have to prove myself. I stopped. I didn't have to prove myself because I was already convinced to myself. So the world became a safe place. It was a place I could explore freely because I had a free mind to do it. And because the world stopped defining me, because I defined myself. And I defined my own capacity. And that led to a confidence and a knowing that has allowed me to live a life that I have designed. It's not always great. Of course, I'm human. People get on my nerves. I get angry. I get disillusioned. I get, tired. I don't have a lot of money. I don't have a lot of things that we think that we need to have in order to be happy. But when I defined what happiness looked like for me, freedom. I'm only happy when I'm free. And I'm only free when I'm doing the things that I want to do, which are many things, and often at the same time, that there are no limits. The world cannot limit me. It can make it hard for me. It can make it damn near impossible. But damn near impossible is not impossible. So my life is proof that living is possible. And I'm not going to let the industry tell you otherwise. So that is who I am. That is what I believe. And that is what I stand 10 toes down on. Okay? So if you don't know me, now you know. And who is this podcast actually for? Who is it for? Is this for you? Is this something that you will enjoy listening to? Well, I hope so. I hope so. But it's really for anyone whose root work values come from a culture of oppression or slavery of any kind. So if in your history, in your background, in your parental background, in your cultural society, that your root of who you are and what you're supposed to be doing and how you're supposed to do it and rest is really tied into that culture of oppression, this podcast is for you. This is for you. It's for empaths. It's for overgivers. It's for the strong one, okay? The responsible one. If that is you, you're the strong one. You're the one everybody comes to. You're the one who has it together. You're the responsible one. You're the one doing the best in the family. This podcast is for you. And especially if you're a woman. Especially if you're a woman. If you're a woman that's living through her children, living through her kids. If you are a woman who is not sure of her own life outside of being a mother, outside of being a wife, outside of being something with a title on it. You don't know, or you're not real sure what your life is supposed to look like at this point, or you're not sure how to get to what you see your life as. You see it, but you're not sure how to get to it. This podcast is for you. This is for you. You're in the right place. This is for you. I follow Trisha Hersey on Instagram. She is one of 3 people that I basically have a parasocial relationship with. They say the parasocial relationships are the relationships that we have with these social media influencers and people that we don't know, but we feel like we know them. Well, Trisha Hersey is one of the people I feel like I know. Like, I follow her. I like what she says. A lot of her work and her research and her academics contributions inform and influence my work. And in my head, we're friends. Okay, we're friends. We friends. we chat from time to time, and in my head, right? But last week, she posted something, and I responded in the comments. Because we're friends. And surprisingly, she responded back. So I want to share with you what she said, and then what I said, and then what she said back to me. So let me get it all pulled up here. Okay, so she posted on Instagram. Her handle is the Nap Ministry. And in the Nap Ministry, she is known as the bishop. And if you're not familiar with her, she's an author. And she's written a book of many. She's written more than one book. But this particular book, Rest is Resistance, is one that I enjoy, read, and actually, again, have utilized some of her research and her findings in my own academic work that I do. And so she posted, "The way I refuse to convince anyone that resting is valuable for our wholeness should be studied. If you love grinding, being exhausted, and burnt out, please enjoy and be blessed. My output for the message of rest is for those who are open to it and seek it." And I looked at that, and then I said, and I responded in the comments, I was like, "Bishop, how?" I struggle with that so much. Some days I'm like, if you like it, I love it. But then I go back and I say, come on here, all over again. Because I hate to see the system beating up on our people in my face, LOL. How do you move on without them? And she responded, how did Harriet Tubman leave without her own family members? This is spiritual work. So until their ears are unsealed, freedom is still here for those ready. We move in waves. It's a pilgrimage, not a sprint. Also, I grew up raised by an activist union organizer. First rule he taught me was that liberation is not all or nothing. One person seeing freedom is also holy. I didn't respond after that because, I said my comment, she responded, and I get exactly what she is saying. But I will say this to you, that this podcast is me coming back one more time, just one more time, to give you the roadmap to freedom. Just one more time in hopes that you'll grab it this time and get free. And if you're not ready to leave, then you go all in for those who are looking for freedom. I'm going to keep coming back, and I'm going to keep showing you what's possible, and I'm going to keep telling you what's possible until you get the courage to take the first step toward the life that you want. I have come back for you. I'm going to keep coming back. And if you are ready, if your ears are unsealed and you are ready, but you just don't quite know the way, I'm here for you too. I'm coming back. I've come back for you. So know that this podcast is for you. I have come back for you, ready or not. That's it for today's episode of Self-Care AF, the podcast. If something hit home, share it with a woman who needs to hear it. That's how we're going to disrupt this narrative together. Listen, come find me on Instagram or sign up for my newsletter. I'll put the links in the show notes. I'm Desiree Rue, and remember that self-care is not a reward for surviving. It's our superpower. See you next time.